There is something that happens when a dog person walks into a room where there is a dog. Everything else becomes secondary. The conversation they were in the middle of, the person they came with, the reason they were there, all of it briefly pauses. They go directly to the dog. They get on its level. They use a voice they do not use with anyone else. And for a moment, something in them visibly settles. People who do not feel this way watch it happen and find it mildly baffling. It is just a dog. It cannot talk. It does not understand what you are saying. The relationship from the outside seems straightforward. You feed it, it follows you around. Occasionally, it destroys something you owned. But dog people know something that is genuinely difficult to explain to someone who has not experienced it. That the relationship is not simple. That what happens between a person and a dog over years of genuine companionship does something to a person that other relationships do not replicate. That the draw is not really about the dog in isolation, but about what the dog makes possible in the person. Here is what the psychology actually says about why dog people are wired the way they are. 1. They are comfortable with love that asks for nothing in return. The defining feature of a dog's attachment to its person is that it is unconditional in a way that human relationships, structurally, cannot be. A dog does not love you more when you are successful. It does not recalibrate its affection based on your mood, your productivity, your recent decisions, or whether you said the right thing in a difficult conversation. It is simply there, consistently, with the same orientation toward you regardless of what version of yourself you are presenting on any given day. For people who grew up in environments where love was conditional, where affection was something earned rather than simply given, that quality is not just pleasant. It is genuinely reparative. Research on human-animal attachment consistently finds that people who struggle with trust in human relationships often find it significantly easier to form secure attachments with dogs. The dog offers something the person may have never fully experienced before, love without a performance requirement. 2. They have a high tolerance for nonverbal communication. Dog people are, almost by definition, people who became fluent in a language with no words. They learn to read the position of ears, the quality of a tail movement, the specific way a dog holds its body when it is uncertain versus when it is relaxed versus when it is asking for something. They develop sensitivity to subtle behavioral signals that most people would not register as communication at all. This capacity does not stay contained to dogs. Research on pet owners consistently finds elevated scores on measures of empathy and nonverbal social sensitivity. People who have spent years reading an animal that cannot speak develop a more refined awareness of communication that happens below the surface of words. They notice things in human interactions that others miss. Tone shifts, body language inconsistencies, the gap between what someone is saying and what they are actually feeling. 3. They are oriented toward connection over transaction. The relationship with a dog produces nothing economically measurable. It is not useful in any conventional sense. It costs time, money, energy, and emotional investment, and what it returns cannot be quantified. People who choose that relationship, who actively seek it out and sustain it across years, are demonstrating something about what they value. They are people for whom connection itself is the point, not what the connection produces, not what it leads to, just the relationship as its own complete thing, worth investing in regardless of practical return. Psychologists studying attachment styles have found that people who form strong bonds with pets tend to score higher on measures of affiliative motivation, the drive toward closeness and connection as ends in themselves rather than means to other ends. This orientation tends to carry across all of their relationships. Dog people are usually people who show up, who remember things, who stay, for they have made peace with dependence. Having a dog means being genuinely needed by something that cannot communicate its needs in words and cannot meet them itself. It means structuring your life around another creature's requirements, feeding times, outdoor time, medical care, companionship, without resentment, and without it feeling like an imposition. That capacity to be depended upon consistently and find it meaningful rather than draining is not universal. It requires a specific relationship with responsibility, not the anxious version, where being needed creates pressure and obligation. The grounded version, where being needed creates purpose. Research has found that dog ownership is associated with measurably higher levels of daily routine and structure, and that this structure tends to have positive downstream effects on mental health, particularly for people prone to depression or purposelessness. The dog does not fix anything, but it requires you to show up every day regardless of how you feel. And showing up every day, regardless of how you feel, turns out to be one of the more reliable foundations for functioning. 5. They are not threatened by straightforward emotional expression. Dogs do not hide what they feel. They are delighted when they are delighted. They are anxious when they are anxious. They want contact when they want it, and they make that known without hedging or social calculation. People who are comfortable with that, who find it endearing rather than overwhelming, who reciprocate without self-consciousness, who do not find the directness of a dog's emotional expression awkward, tend to be people with a relatively easy relationship with emotion in general. They are not performing their affection. They are not managing how much warmth they allow themselves to show. They just feel it and respond to it. That ease with direct emotional expression tends to make dog people unusually easy to be around. There is less performance, less management, less distance between what they feel and what they show. 6. They have a long relationship with grief. Anyone who has loved a dog has done the math at some point, has looked at a young dog and quietly registered that they will almost certainly outlive it, has understood going in that the relationship has an end built into it from the beginning, and chosen to begin it anyway. That is not a small thing. It is a conscious decision to love something fully despite knowing the cost. And people who have made that decision, and then lived through the loss, and then got another dog, have developed a specific relationship with grief that changes how they move through loss in general. They know that love does not stop being worth it because it ends. They have evidence for that. Hard evidence. The kind that only comes from having actually been through it. 7. They have experienced being known without explanation. The dog does not need you to explain yourself. It does not require context or history or the right framing to understand what you are carrying on a particular day. It just knows, not because it comprehends the details of your situation, but because it is paying attention to you, the actual you, the one that exists underneath the version you present to everyone else, with a quality of attention that most human relationships never quite achieve. For people who have spent a significant amount of their lives feeling slightly misunderstood, slightly unseen, slightly too complicated for the relationships available to them, that quality of attention is not a small thing. It is, for a lot of dog people, the closest they have felt to being fully known. And once you have experienced that, even from an animal, you understand something about connection that changes what you are willing to settle for everywhere else.